Thank you, Aaron. So the Christmas season is full upon us, and we have about 9 or 10 days left to go Christmas shopping, if we haven't already done so, as we emulate the wise men who presented their gifts to the Christ child, so we present gifts to each other. But this morning our focus is on the ultimate gift that we all receive, and that is the gift of life. It is the gift that God gives to us. It is the gift that the universe gives to us. We are given this great gift of life to be in these human bodies in this form. And the gift that we give back to God is what we do with this life. The gift that we give back to the universe is what we do with this life. And so it is imperative that we come here to be who we've come to be who you have come here to be, without apology, without holding back. So last week we talked about how the Christmas story is a template of spiritual awakening, and we talked about the shepherds and the importance of going into silence, and that it's part of our practice and part of awakening. Today I want to focus a little bit on the wise men and how they followed the star. You know, metaphysically, following the star is following our bliss, following what makes us happy. Most likely they were astrologers from Persia, and they were following either a mass conjunction of a few planets or a comet. But they journeyed to find the Christ child, and they found him in a manger and presented him with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. When we follow our bliss, when we do what makes us happy, when we follow our inner star, it is a template for us, is it not, to awakening to the Christ. So what are you waiting for, right? What's holding you back but to pursue and to do those things that you love? Because this is a gift that has been given to us, and the gift that we give back to the world is the gift of being completely and fully ourselves. Now, the interesting thing is that this gift of life that we have, it can be taken for granted, right? Because it feels like we're going to be here forever, doesn't it? I mean, it doesn't feel like we're ever going to leave this plane, and yet we are. I love what James in the book of James said in chapter 4. He said, "Come on, you who say, today or tomorrow, we're going to go to such and such a town, and we're going to spend a year there, and we're going to do some business, and we're going to make some money." James says, "Yet you do not even know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little while and then disappears." We are a mist that appears for a little while and then disappears. We are here for a very short time. As I was saying, Meg was sitting just in the third row or whatever last week, and I noticed that she was so radiant. She was so bright and shiny, and was teasing me about bringing 2 left boots to church last week, and then, you know, I got the call from James on Wednesday. And it causes us to think about this great mystery of what lies next, right? Because truthfully, we can have our theories and we know we have our faith, and yet until we cross that line ourselves, we really don't know where people are going. We don't know really what it is like. And I have been researching, like, what are some of the last words that people have said, and does it give us an inkling? And what I've noticed is last words kind of fit with who we are and what we're doing, really. And some of the last words are mundane, and some are humorous, and some are profound. My mother, the last words she said, she was getting ready to go back to the hospital, and she was sitting on the edge of the bed, and my dad had turned his back to her for a minute, and she said, "You know, I haven't felt this good in a long time." And then he heard her fall, and he turned around, and she was dead before she hit the floor. And it was like, what was that? So I went and I don't know. So anyway, I looked up some of the famous last words of some people. And Ethan Allen, who was an American Revolutionary general, his doctor was trying to comfort him at the end of his life. And his doctor said, "General, I fear the angels are waiting for you." And he said, "Waiting, are they? Waiting, are they? Well, you can just tell them to wait." Those were his last words. P.T. Barnum, you know, the circus, the entrepreneur, circus founder, his last words were, what were the receipts today at Madison Square Garden? Edmund Gwenn, who was an actor in the 50s, he was asked on his deathbed, is this tough? Is dying tough? And he said, yes, it's tough, but it's not as tough as doing comedy. And the last one, the most profound, is by Henry Ward Beecher. And he said, now comes the mystery. Now comes the mystery. And what I noticed is that the crossing over is pretty much like we are now, right? It's just that movement. And yet there's also, I think, an awakeness that happened. It might have been the moment that my mom saw at her last moments. I was reading a story about Ronald Reagan, and as you know, he had Alzheimer's at the end of his life, and he was really, really out of it for a very long time. And his family had gathered around him, and his breathing had changed, so they knew that this was it. And he had been just, kind of unconscious. And just before he died, this is what his daughter wrote. At the last moment when his breathing told us that this was it, he opened his eyes and he looked straight at his wife. Eyes that had not opened for days did, and they weren't chalky or vague. They were clear and blue and full of life. In his last moment, he taught me that there's nothing stronger than the love between two people, two souls. It was the last thing he could do in this world to show my mother how entwined their souls are, and it was everything. And she said it was the best and greatest gift he could have given her. So for some way, he was able to rally at that last moment, and he was able to come back to a moment of clarity and look at her and say goodbye and make that connection before he crossed over. And yet our focus today is on this gift of life that we are living right here and right now. Because again, we have this tendency, I know I do, to think that I have all the time in the world to do the things that I have to do. And sometimes my life is like the Pink Floyd song, Time. Tired of lying in the sunshine, staying home to watch the rain. You are young and life is long and there is time to kill today. And then one day you find what? 10 years have got behind you and no one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. Every year is getting shorter, never seem to find the time, plans that either came to naught or half a page of scribbled lines. The time is gone, the song is over, thought I'd something more to say. We don't want to end like that, do we? We don't want to live that song, and Meg certainly didn't. Meg was a person who lived completely and fully her and gave back that gift. It's also not what the wise men did. The wise men did not put off what they could. They could have said, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like making the trip right now. Let's wait till the weather's better. Then maybe we'll make the trip. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we should wait till we have better gifts to give them. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. What is that, right? Or maybe they would have said, let's just wait till he's older, and then we'll be able to talk to him. Then we'll find him. But he didn't, they took those steps and they went forward and they didn't stop. And so my question to you sometimes is, what stops you from moving forward? Isn't it you? Right? Don't we say things like, well, When I'm retired, I'll do this, or maybe when I'm employed, or when I'm in a relationship, or when I get out of a relationship, or maybe when I get a cat, or maybe when the cat dies, or maybe when I have a kid, or maybe when the kid grows up and leaves home. I mean, it could go on and on and on. Maybe when I'm wiser, maybe when I'm thinner, maybe when I'm richer, then I'll do all these things. And the truth is, like James said in the book of James, hey, you can make all these plans about everything, but the truth is, you're missed. And we don't know whether it's today or tomorrow or 50 years from now. So when we follow in the footsteps of the wise men, we follow the star. We follow our bliss. Do what makes you happy. Do what is juicy. Do what is fun, because it is one of the steps to awakening to the inner Christ. It is one of the steps of awakening to the divinity within. Now, this doesn't mean that things go smoothly, right? The wise men followed the star, and who'd they run into? They ran into Herod, and what did Herod want to do? He wanted to kill the Christ child. He wanted to kill their dream. How many times have you run into situations and circumstances that kill your dream, right? And yet they continued on, and they found the Christ child. They awakened to that, if you will, and they presented their gifts. And gold represents the soul. It is the essence of who we are, and no matter how much time goes by or what the circumstances may be, gold cannot be tarnished. It's always pure and it's always solid. Is that not the same with your soul? And the frankincense is a reminder that we are mists that could disappear at any moment, the frankincense. And the myrrh, I believe, is making the most of every moment, the preciousness of every moment. So we follow that which makes us happy. So I have an interesting dilemma, because I love speaking, I love ministry, I love God. And writing talks is a stretch for me. And I have started to find a way to make it fun for me. And the way I make it fun is I go to the spa. And I hang out in the steam rooms and the hot tubs, and I just get totally out of it or relaxed. And you know what I'm noticing is I can sit down and I can now write in 3 or 4 hours instead of 10. I still have more to do usually, but there's a part of me that feels guilty, like, wait a minute, this was fun, you know? I'm kind of enjoying this process. It was kind of easy. Really? Who stops you but you? Right? Who stops you from having fun? Who stops me? It's, you know. Bill Murray is one of my favorite actors, and there was an article written about him, about his steps to having a happy life. And his first step is to sing, and to sing with all your might whenever you can and wherever you can. And again, I think that would be Meg, isn't it? Meg. In fact, James emailed me and he goes, do you think we could have a sing-along funeral? I'm like, sure. Whatever you want, we can make that work. His second rule is to be honest. When he was asked recently, why did he take on the role of his latest movie, St. Vincent, he said, because Jack Nicholson turned it down. That's why. He said, leave yourself open to magical moments. There's a story about him where he was in the cab and he was talking to the cab driver, and he said, the cab driver said, I love to play the saxophone, but I never have time because I'm always, driving the cab. And he says, well, where's your horn? He goes, it's in the trunk. He goes, all right, let me drive. I'll drive you around town, and then you can practice in the back seat. And so they did. He drove around for a couple of hours, and this guy got to practice his horn. I was talking to Rosalind this week, and she was sharing a magical moment with me. She went to New York to say goodbye to one of her friends who was making her transition, which is, of course, always a hard thing to do. And she said she got on the bus in New York City, and she was feeling down and depressed and upset, and the bus is packed, and here she's in New York, and she said there's a little girl on the bus, and she's singing, the itsy bitsy spider came up the water spout, down came the rain and washed the spider out. Up came the sun and dried up all the rain, and the itsy bitsy spider walked up the spout again. And she sang it again and again and again and again, as little children will. And she said, then the bus driver got on the intercom and he said to everybody, do you all know the itsy bitsy spider? And they all said, yes, we do. And he said, well, then let's sing it. And the entire bus, and she said the bus was packed. It was all different races. It was all different economic levels. And the entire bus sang, the itsy bitsy spider crawled up the water spout. And can you imagine being in the traffic and all of that? And she said it was a magical moment. And all of a sudden, her sadness, which was, yes, still there, but her sadness was uplifted, and she felt so much better in that moment from coming together in that way. And finally, Bill Murray says, what's most important is to be who you are, to be who you are, to come into this life and just to fully and completely express who you are. Actually, he had one more, and the other one was have fun and relax and enjoy yourself. He said, you have to remind yourself that you can do the very best you can when you're very, very relaxed. I think that's why I can write a sermon at the spa. No matter what it is, no matter what your job is, the more relaxed you are, the better you are. No matter what my conditions or what my mood is, no matter how I feel about what's going on in my life, if I can relax myself and enjoy what I'm doing and have fun with it, then I can do my job really well. And it's changed my life learning that, and it's made me better at what I do. I'm not the greatest at anything, but I really enjoy it. Yay, Bill Murray. And then obviously, be who you are, because you have been given the ultimate gift. It is the gift of life. God has given us the best gift. We can get all these presents, but we've already been given the best gift that we could possibly be given. And the gift that we give back is what we do with this life. We give this back to the universe. The wise men showed us how to birth the Christ. They followed the star. So do what makes you happy. Do what makes you excited. Do what's juicy for you. Don't wait, because you may not have tomorrow. Again, James said, you don't even know what tomorrow will bring, because what is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. And so rather than going with the words that Pink Floyd wrote, we can turn them just a little bit. The time is not done. The song is not over. And there is so much more to say. So say it. Be it. Amen. Thank you.